Welcome to Coaching Time with me, Benjamin Bailey, a professional coach. Today we're going to talk about braking, trail braking, weight transfer, and how to approach the corner. For trail braking, it's extremely important because that will affect the balance of the car. It will affect the way the car reacts into the corner. It will affect the time a lot. So what you need to do is you need to try to brake as hard as possible, especially in the GT, in a straight line. And then you slowly release the brake. So now we are coming to the bus-stop chicane. This is a perfect example. Try to set the car perfectly straight. Brake as hard as you can, down the gear. And when you start turning, you release slowly that brake pedal in order to get the front of the car turned in, and then out of the corner, back on the power. Now we get back to La Source, another really good example for trail braking, where you're going to apply very hard pressure on entry, like this, release the brake slowly, and now applying the throttle. So what the trail braking allows you to do, it allows you to keep the front of the car, the grip in the front of the car, and allows you to turn into the corner with the weight of the car in the front. You have to brake as hard as you can in a straight line, basically, with avoiding lockup, and then keeping the brake all the way into the apex, like this, braking hard, keeping the brake into the apex, and slowly release in order to keep the front of the weight of the car to the front, and allow you to have the front grip necessary to turn in. If you don't trail brake, what's going to happen then? Either you're going to, like here in Brussels, if you hold the brake too hard, you're just going to lock up and go straight. And if you release the brake too fast, you're going to carry too much speed, you're going to catch understeer and you're going to miss the apex. So you have to find the right balance between holding the pressure as long as possible, but once you start turning into the corner, releasing the brake to avoid the lockup, and at the same time keep the weight of the car to the front and allow you to have front grip into the corner. So you know that you have done a good job when you can brake very late, you avoid front lockup, and you manage to hit apex with the right balance. So you don't want to have too much understeer, you don't want to have too much oversteer. You have to try to find that balance that you're looking for and hitting the apex at the right moment. If you are missing the apex of the corner, you probably carry too much speed. And if you lock up, then you probably have hold the brake too much. So you have to find the right balance in between. You find a lot of lap time in braking, more than minimum speed into the corner. So that's why it's very, very important to brake as late as possible and be as efficient as possible with your braking, because that will allow you to stay on the power maybe an extra 10 meters down the straight, an extra 5 meters here, for example, in Spa in La Source, and that's where you will gain a lot of the time. You can gain a bit of time by carrying a little bit of extra speed in the corner, but if you are braking very late, you are braking properly, it will also allow you to rotate the car properly in the corner and have a very good exit. If you carry too much speed into the corner and understeer, you will miss also your exit, and if you lock up, you might as well also miss the corner and miss the exit. So the braking is what conditions the entire corner. So in this case here, I'm going to try to show you when I brake. If I brake too little, I'm overshooting the corner and I get understeer and miss completely the apex and completely the corner. So it's really finding the balance between braking hard when you are straight and releasing the brake when you are turning in. So for example here, positioning the car as straight as possible, hit the brake hard when I am straight, releasing the brake slowly all the way to the apex, and then applying the power. So here I perfectly release the brake to keep the grip to the front of the car, and at the same time I was able to get on the power very, very early. And if you release the brake too fast, you're just going to miss apex, and if you lock up, you're also going to miss completely the corner. So it's a little bit like I said always, it's like domino. So the first one, the braking is like the first domino. If the first domino is not falling straight, then the rest of the domino are not going to fall properly. So you want to have your braking set perfectly so you can turn in the corner smooth, hit the apex, apply the power early, and have a good exit. So one of the other things that is extremely important into braking is to have a braking reference. And the braking reference, that's what will determine if you're braking too late or too early. So here, for example, I have a 100-meter board as a reference point. And one of the things you do, you often try to choose a reference point. So it can be 100 meters, 150 meters, 200, whatever. And you do the braking right. So you try, here I'm going to show you what I mean by that. So I'm going to brake at 100 meter, and I'm going to try to apply a lot of pressure and release. And for example, here I stopped too early. So I know that my 100-meter reference is too early. So next lap, I know I'm going to brake. I'm going to try to brake at 80 meters. And then next lap, if it's still too early, I can push it to 70 meters. So a little bit after the 100. And in that way, I will brake properly from the start and step by step find what is the perfect reference point for this car on this track. And then, of course, when you are going, you're going for a quali lap, you're going with heavy fuel in the race, you can adjust a bit your reference point, but you have something strong to start with. And often, from track to track, unless you're driving a GT3 and then Formula 1, then the braking points will move quite a lot. But it will be the same more or less with the cars, the different cars that you will drive. So here the start of the curb is again a really good reference for me. Then I know that I will approach the corner with the right speed if I start my braking there. And you know, the braking efficiency, for example, on the GT3 is you know, adapted to the car. When you're going to drive, if you drive with another game, with a Mazda, the brakes are less efficient, so the reference point will be the same, just that the braking distance will be a little bit longer, and your trail braking will be also a little bit longer. And with the F1 the other way, with the F1 here, you're going to be able to brake later, and then your braking distance will be less, but the reference point can still be the same. It will allow you to brake at the perfect position. So now I'm just going to try to get back to La Source, and this time, instead of braking at 100 meter, I'm going to brake at 80 meter mark. So obviously there's 150, 150, so 80 meter, it's a little bit something you need to feel, but I need to pass the 100 board, and now I brake 80 meters, and this time it was much better. I feel like I'm almost on the limit, so the lap after I will try to feel it a little bit better, brake a tiny bit later, and maybe the next time is going to be too late, but then I know I have to come a little bit back. So how can you tell if you have the perfect brake balance? Because that is also one of the things in the braking zone. So the way you set your brake balance with the different cars that you're driving with is braking straight again. So the same as with the trail braking, you can determine if your brake balance is too much to the front or too much to the back when you are braking in a straight line. So here I brake very hard, I have no front lockup, no rear lockup. I know my brake balance is good. But if I lock the front tires while being in a straight line, probably is a good idea to move the brake a little bit to the back. And if the other way you feel that you are losing the rear a bit on braking, then this will be a good idea to move the brake balance a little bit to the front. But never try to set your brake balance when you are turning into the corner. So now, for example, at the end of Les Combes, if I brake and I try to hold the brake too much, I'm going to create some front lockup on purpose. So now I brake hard, turn, and you see I lock the brake. I lock the front right tires because I'm taking all the weight away from the tires. So I cannot really set the brake balance based on this. I have to set the brake balance based on a straight and heavy braking and not a combination of braking and turning. Then when you have done the brake, the hard brake properly, and you have done the degreaser properly, if you're still locking up the front while you turn into the corner, then it's a good idea to try a little bit to the back. But most likely you cannot set the brake balance based on a combination turn-in braking. You have to do that once while you are on the straight line.